I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
Together, we're Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do, Mr. Rose?
We get the people what they want.
Well, for a matchup of 3 and 4 teams, there certainly was a lot of hype around last night's Monday Night Football game. Michael Irving was on first take, sweating and screaming when the game started. It didn't go well for the Cowboys. Look at that sneaky play that the Titans put together. Titans got some touchdowns, while Amari Cooper did get one touchdown himself. The Cowboys could not protect Dak all night long. He was getting sacked. He was getting strip sacked. It didn't look good for Dak and the Cowboys. Jalen Rose, this is supposedly, quote-unquote, America's team. What do you take away from this game from the Cowboys?
First and foremost, I'm going to make sure, as somebody that works in the national media, I don't take the what's wrong with the Cowboys spin without acknowledging the fact that they got beat on their home field by the Tennessee Titans, who did a terrific job of converting on third down. I think they were 11 for 13. Mariota had 3 total touchdowns. Now, for the Dallas Cowboys, a couple of things. One, it was a great pickup for Amari Cooper. I know people are going to question whether they should have gave up a first-round pick or not. The bottom line is he's going to be a productive player. The true issue with their team is their offensive line isn't what it used to be, and Dak Prescott still has to prove that he's a franchise quarterback. He's had 2+ turnovers in the last 10 games. That's the longest stretch in the entire NFL. So it's going to be interesting to see how this year progresses and if they're going to look toward him to give him franchise-changing quarterback money to play on the center for a team that gave Ezekiel Elliott 0 touches in the fourth quarter. 0 touches in the fourth quarter.
6 touches in the second half. It was just confusing the way they played. And Dak, you mentioned Dak's turnovers, one of which was a great play, strip sack, that was fine. The other one was the throw to the end zone. Amari Cooper is double-teamed, and just the way that he threw it, he had his right foot in front of his left. It was like he was shooting a floater. He just tossed it up there, and Byard came down with the reception, the interception. And what he did next was interesting. Let's take a look. He took the ball. You know, this is the look at his feet when he throws this, like a little fadeaway, like Michael Jordan 3. And then he runs to the Dallas Cowboys star, a la Terrell Owens, and does that. Jalen Rose, I enjoyed this moment because you know I'm here for the drama and the disrespect and the Irish jig on the star. What did you think about that move from Byard?
I'm not mad at it at all. The one thing I learned a long time ago as somebody that was a trash talker is you can say or do what you want, but however, you got to be ready to deal with the consequences that come with it. So now if I'm the Dallas Cowboys and I think players are going to start making this a practice, trying to disrespect, because you did use that word because that's what it is, and go to the flag, go to the midfield every time they score, something happens great. They now should come up with a strategy to make sure that they find a way to discipline that person when it takes place. They looked a little confused and a little surprised by it taking place. I understand they were a little dreary because it was a standing 8 count, understanding that your quarterback just threw it to a guy who was bracketed. He was basically the only guy in that area and had no chance to complete that pass. So I'm pretty sure the rest of the guys were a little dumbfounded as it was taking place. But next time they should be ready, and they shouldn't let that slander continue to take place on their field.
I think as the defensive players run on the field after a turnover, they're going to start doing a little detour right next to the star just to make sure nothing happens. Well, as he always does, Jerry Jones had something to say after the game. Let's listen to Jerry.
Really disappointing. We certainly didn't see this coming. If you will, it's a step back for us. Well, I think after 8 games, when you've won 3, that's cause for concern. We've got to play better. The record could be better than it is right now, and we'd still be in trouble. I certainly think that each individual player and coach and front office person is going to have to do better.
Have you heard anything about how...
me.
Do you think Jerry Jones is going to fire Jason Garrett or make any big personnel moves or do anything to change the course of this team this year?
Not during this year, because it doesn't necessarily help the continuity of your team to fire the coach at this point in the year, especially when they have the level of relationship that they have. And I do believe, however, at the end of this year, they should strongly consider moving in a different direction. But then I thought back to something. Early 2000s, one of my mentors in this business, James Brown, going to spend time with him, Terry, and Howie. And also, Jimmy Johnson. And it reminded me of something. He's still not in the Dallas Cowboys Ring of Honor. Now, I know you heard me say this for the last 10 seasons.
Oh, I don't know, just about 1,000,000 times.
And so the reason why I'm pointing this out, and feel free, media members and fans, to take this point and use it as your own and not credit me at all. The reason why Jimmy Johnson is not in the Dallas Cowboy Ring of Honor, though he won 2 championships, is because Jerry Jones is jealous of him. He's jealous of the fact that people gave him some of the credit, most of the credit, if not all of the credit in certain cases. So therefore, he ostracized them. So I don't see that guy going out paying mega bucks to an alpha head coach that's not going to allow him to dictate what happens in practice and on the field. He's got to have somebody in this term, puppet, coaching the team. So that's the dynamic that I want to see how it plays out.
Well, we have a Le'Veon Bell update, kind of. He sent out this tweet where he said, "Farewell, Miami," with a waving hand. Jalen Rose, he has not contacted the Steelers. Are we to assume that this means that he's headed to Pittsburgh?
How about this? He has 8 days in theory to show up to the team. Guess what he's going to do between now and then? Show up to the team. He's going to make sure that he doesn't do anything to forfeit his free agency at the end of this year. So basically what that was saying is, bye to Miami. It's been real. Put my album together. Spit some bars. Got a chance to kick it at Live. Had a chance to be on the jet skis. Now he got to go where it's cold. The weather has changed.
So one thing though about this,
in Pittsburgh.
Listen, I'm not a good speller, but if you know you're going to make national news with a tweet, just read it over, because you did not spell farewell right. You know what I mean? you got to spell farewell right. Come on, Le'Veon. Moving on, Jalen Rose, we have some Uber news. One thing that both Jalen and I do not like is a chatty Uber driver. Well, guess what's worse than a chatty Uber driver? A snitch Uber driver who's recording you while you're complaining about your job. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen Rose. The Denver Nuggets are 9-1. The Denver Nuggets played the Celtics, a championship contending team, last night, and they beat them. They've also beaten the Warriors. Not only that, Jamal Murray put up 48 points against this Celtics team, and Kyrie Irving. Look at all these different ways that he's getting buckets. What did Jamal Murray show you last night?
That he, along with Gary Harris and that terrific young backcourt, continue to ascend. And for those who haven't been paying close attention to this program and didn't hear you and I echo the fact that the Denver Nuggets are going to be really good this year, now people are starting to pay attention, and rightfully so. This is a quality win on your home floor. They're playing without Will Barton. We know the Joker's going to play at an all-star level at the center spot. Paul Millsap is giving them good minutes. Trey Lyles gave them quality minutes as well. I really think this team, once they get fully healthy, depending on what happens with Isaiah Thomas as the year progresses, is going to shock a lot of people in the Western Conference, because this is legitimate. I'm not saying it's going to be 90% win percentage type of good, but I'm telling you, they're trending towards being one of the top 4 teams in the Western Conference if they can keep it up.
I mean, I like this team, and one of the only things I look at them and say, they're not that deep, but if they do get Thomas back, I don't think Porter Jr. will play, but they've got, Barton is not playing now. Like, they've got some players that should come back and contribute for them as they get deep in the season. I really like this Nuggets team. If you have League Pass and you're on the East Coast, it's worth staying up and watching some Nuggets basketball. There is something that happened at the end of the game that I need to talk to you about, though, Mr. Rose. Let's just take a look at the waning seconds of this Nuggets win. You see, we got Murray with the ball. He's got 48. He's just casually dribbling around and pulls up. Just pulls up. What's wrong with that, Jalen? My man can't shoot.
It's an unwritten rule in the NBA, and Kyrie's going to get a $10,000 fine for throwing that ball in the stands, that when the game is decided, it's the final possession, it's okay to just hold on to the ball and not add fuel to the fire, not try to pile on, not try to demean or disrespect the opponent, as it's called. The fight has been called. Stop the battle. Okay.
I understand. I understand why Kyrie was mad, but one thing I love about Kyrie is the way that he handled it afterwards when he spoke to reporters. Let's listen.
Congratulations to him having 48 points. he did it in a great fashion against us. Our defense has to be better. But the ball deserves to go in the crowd after a move like that. So do it in the crowd.
You know what? He's like, no big deal. He's like, I was mad at the time. I was upset, so I threw the ball in the crowd. But congratulations to him. We need to play better defense. I like the way he handled that. He could have gone a different way with that.
Absolutely. But I want to go deeper into the box score because we're going to talk more about the Nuggets as the season progresses. And the Boston Celtics are my favorite to win the Eastern Conference, just slightly ahead of the Toronto Raptors. I can't wait to see those two teams play in the conference finals. It's really a coin flip. They're both playing so well. But I want to talk again about the Boston Celtics, and I want to make sure I put something on wax. I've alluded to this already. They have, in my opinion, one of the best general managers and head coaching combinations in the game in Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens. They have a multitude of assets not only on their roster, but they could get up to 3 first-round draft picks this year. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to look deep and hard at their roster and figure out if they want to keep the dynamic Kyrie Irving a part of this team going forward. Yep. Here's what I mean. Styles make fights. And if I'm building a squad, there isn't 12 people in the NBA that I would build around over Kyrie Irving. I think he's that good. I saw him shoot down the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals on the right wing. I saw he and LeBron James score 40-plus points. I've seen the 50 points versus the San Antonio Spurs. Like, this guy is an amazing scorer who has the best handles in the entire game, okay? But the Boston Celtics are a team that predicates itself off ball movement and player movement. And when he's at his best, it's 31 points, a handful of assists. It's not 12 or 15 assists type of primary ball handler. So when he's out there performing and doing his thing, and Gordon Hayward, who wasn't a part of the team last year because he was injured, has now returned and he's not playing well. So you put both of these guys back on the team. What ends up happening? You suppress the productivity of certain players. In particular, Tatum, Brown, Rozier, who made a name for himself, and Smart. So what they're going to have to decide is, are we going to give Kyrie a maximum contract and continue to play towards the style of an amazing one-on-one player that's limited defensively, or are they going to play like they did last year when he and Hayward were out of the lineup and still use those assets to continue to build on this great championship contending team?
Jalen, there's something about this that you haven't mentioned, you just alluded to, is that decision becomes a lot easier if Gordon Hayward is Gordon Hayward. He had 8 points last night. 8 points. Like, he is not healthy. This injury was obviously more severe than we all expected. Remember last year we were talking about maybe him coming back last year during the regular season? Now it's the next season. It's over a full calendar year later, and he's obviously still mentally and or physically kind of hobbled by it until Gordon Hayward becomes what they expected Gordon Hayward to be when they got him there. They have to have Kyrie's 31 points on that team because he put up 8 points last night.
Correct, but that's my point. That's the distinction. It's only 48 minutes in the game. You bring both of those guys back. One of those guys has been terrific in isolation situations, getting his buckets and playing well in Kyrie Irving. Gordon Hayward, he's struggling, but they're both starting. So now that clearly takes minutes and opportunities away from somebody else. This is a fascinating first world problem for the Boston Celtics.
It really is. It really is. Jalen Rose, I'm going to move on to some news that matters. Jalen, the executives at ESPN has given us this platform. I mean, an hour every day in the afternoon on ESPN2, and along that comes great responsibility. I feel like it's our responsibility to bring to the forefront some news and some topics that aren't being discussed in mainstream media, one of which is this. There's a rock, a space rock, an interstellar rock that's headed our direction. It's called Oumuamua, I believe. Oumuamua, I'm going to call it. Oumuamua is headed our way, and scientists have been tracking it. And Jalen, it doesn't move like a normal asteroid does. It's been making turns. It's been making flips. It's been doing things that make it seem like it's being controlled like a spacecraft. Huh. And let's look at this quote by the theoretical physicist Avi Loeb, who's been tracking it. Oumuamua could be an active piece of alien technology that came to explore our solar system. Jalen Rose, there is a probe, an interstellar probe, headed our direction to explore our solar system, potentially looking for life. And here we are talking about Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande breaking up. What can we do to make people understand that we are being probed by aliens? Because that's a fact.
Well, there's nothing I can do to make people think that we're being probed by aliens because I don't believe in them. Now, you do, so you probably should take this opportunity to do so. When I think of asteroids, I think of the video games I played growing up, like Stargate and Defender, where I could put 1/4 in, put a hole in it, put a little string on the end, and before you know it, I'm playing with the same quarter at the video game spot all day. That's all I know about asteroids.
Wake up, Jalen Rose.
You playing Galaga.
Wake up, man. We're not alone.
I'm not rolling.
How do you know I'm not an alien?
I'm not rolling.
When we come back, Allen Iverson has some criticism
Bubble
for today's
Chuck.
NBA. We'll share it with you after this. Ship a little bit here.
I think so. When they're healthy, I mean, look at the level of talent that they have. James Harden is only the reigning MVP. He'll end up being in top 5 in assists and in points. Chris Paul is going to always play at an all-NBA caliber level. They re-signed Clint Capella. He seems to be finding his game. Tucker's going to give him toughness and the ability to knock down an open shot. So when they're healthy, I'm not surprised. Shout to Jeff Bisdelic, who was dealing with some family issues, who is now going to return to the Houston Rockets. And the reason why I made sure that I gave him an acknowledgement, because this time last year, most people didn't even know who that was as it related to the Houston Rockets.
He was the key.
But he was a key cog in their defensive prowess that clearly has been lacking. So therefore, without him, his stock went up. Now we're saying they will bring back their defensive guru, a word that has never been used on this network to describe Jeff Bisdelic until right now.
I mean, Jeff Bisdelic, like the biggest difference between the Rockets 2 years ago and the Rockets last year was their defense. Their defense came together, and a lot of people don't understand that NBA teams, kind of like NFL teams, have defensive coordinators, and that's basically what he was, and their defense is cratered. He knew his phone was going to ring. He knew that phone was going to ring after watching the first few games, and I think the Rockets will be very happy to have him back. We're going to move on, though. A Super Bowl contender could be adding a new weapon as soon as this week. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Jalen Rose, the Saints are working out some wide receivers. No big deal, looking to bolster the receiving core. One of those receivers, though, is Dez Bryant. Could we see Dez Bryant with the NFL shield on his uniform this season?
Head coach Sean Payton has Texas ties. Dez Bryant clearly would love for an opportunity to present himself in the NFL. What better way to do it than leaving the Cowboys, who are not going to the playoffs, to join the Saints, who are as hot as it gets as it relates to NFL teams. A clear-cut team along with the Rams distinguishing themselves in the NFC. If he could join that squad, that'll be a really good look for him. And the NFC continues to get stronger. Falcons, the Carolina Panthers are coming. The Vikings are still out there. So it's going to be great theater.
Next, Reebok wants to party with Cardi. They've announced an endorsement deal with Cardi B. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
I'm not mad at Cardi, but keep it moving. I want to see the productivity
Jacoby moving, you know, we
of
keep
the
it
gear.
moving up.
The drama continues. We have an update between Jimmy Butler and the Timberwolves. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Got to hit the brakes on this.
So the Timberwolves coming off a loss, and the question was asked, hey, are you going to play in Wednesday's game against the Lakers? And he basically said, I haven't decided yet. Jalen Rose, what do you think of what seemingly is Jimmy Butler picking and choosing what games he plays in?
Well, it goes back to the theory of so many people talking about this situation, and by his style of play and his productivity and being one of the better two-way players in the game, people felt that Jimmy Butler, when he joined Minnesota, that he would be all in to play in each game until he got traded. Now there's clearly been a detour from that level of thinking. This is not good for the game. You know, I'm somebody that's talked about not being a fan of healthy players resting anyway. during the regular season, especially if they don't have things locked up late in the year, versus a situation like this where he's just flat out unsure if he's going to play based on the fact that he's unhappy with his situation. I hope Adam Silver figures a way to find himself in the middle of this scenario, because it's not a good look for the league. And this is a nationally televised game. We much rather have on ESPN Jimmy Butler and the Minnesota Timberwolves playing against LeBron James and the Lakers than questioning whether Jimmy Butler is going to even play if he's healthy. It's not good for business, and it's not good for the partners, clearly.
Can we just get him to the Rockets or the Heat already? Like, that's where he's going to end up. He's going to end up in either the Rockets or the Heat. So can we just get him there already? Like, Daryl Morey, get back on the phone. I mean, you already put together 4 #1 picks for this guy. Like, what else do you have to do? Throw in Eric Gordon. Do whatever you have to do. The Rockets need Jimmy Butler. We need a team that could maybe compete with the Warriors in the Western Conference. There isn't one right now. This makes sense for everybody. Please, Mr. Silver, intervene. Do whatever kind of tampering you need to do to make this happen. I want to see Jimmy Butler on the Rockets. Thank you, Adam Silver. I know you watch this program every single night. Moving on. The Cleveland Cavaliers have a head coach. Looks like they made a deal with Larry Drew. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
They should have been did this when they decided to fire their old coach. Keep it moving.
We keep it moving. We keep it moving.
Allen Iverson is not a fan of something that's happening in today's NBA. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Wow, hit the brakes.
We always listen when Allen Iverson speaks. He loves his little guys. He said about NBA fashion, quote, "This is Halloween every night. It's the 31st of October every night." Allen Iverson is upset about the way NBA players are dressing. Is he sound like an old head that's out of touch, that's hating, or does he have a point?
No, Allen Iverson has been at the forefront of style, being a tastemaker. I appreciate people like this in the industry who have had styles that people copied, like the cornrows and things of that nature of a guy that was playing at an MVP level. I could not imagine Allen Iverson scooting up and down a bed to try to put on some tight pants. I just can't imagine him doing that. I can't imagine Allen Iverson showing up at a game and I'm seeing his ankles and Achilles. I
don't see Allen Iverson some skin-tight capri pants with some like designer silk headwear on, wearing like a mismatched vest with his nipples out. Like, I just don't see Allen Iverson doing that. I just don't see it. I can't imagine it. Coming up next on Jalen and Jacoby, time for Soft Move, a staple of our program for years and years. It's time for Soft Move or Boss Move.
Is it a soft move or a boss move for me to put on my cardies during this segment? Please continue.
Soft move, but we'll let it happen.
It's a boss move. Please continue.
A gentleman in Kentucky by the name of Michael Wells Rohde was just enjoying some adult beverages while he was at the horse track. And what he did next was a little unorthodox. He found his way into the horse stable, mounted one of the horses, and then made his way to the track where he tried to race the horse. Getting hammered, getting on top of a horse, trying to join a race. Soft move or boss move?
This is a soft move all the way around because it starts by getting drunk. So once that happened, the decision-making of that individual isn't necessarily what it should be. So for you to straddle one and then you try to ride it, and before you know it, you fall off that horse, you can get injured, you can injure the horse. There's so many things that can go bad. I say that this is a soft move.
Yeah, I'm much more concerned about the horse in this scenario. Like, if you get hammered and do something dumb and you hurt yourself, that's fine, but don't go around hurting horses. A soft move, you took off your glasses. Commit to it.
I saw the reflection of the light in them.
No, I saw it too. Moving on. This is from our people. We always say we give the people what they want, so we asked our followers on Twitter, at Jalen and Jacoby, some soft move or boss move questions. Boss move or soft move, experimentally taking your wedding ring off just to see if single people will approach you. I'm going to take this one, Jalen Rose, because I've been married for years and years. Anytime that you are taking your wedding ring off not to wash your hands or to play basketball or do something functional is a soft move. You got married. Act like you're married. We all know those guys in your friend circle that when you go to Vegas, they don't wear their wedding ring. You go out to dinner, they don't wear their wedding ring. Those people aren't really married, they're fake married. If you are married, if you take vows, You keep your wedding ring on. You're married. Don't do it experimentally like my man Dominic suggested. Dominic definitely has done this before, too.
This is definitely a soft move because being married is a covenant under the man above. And those vows are really strong if you ever listen to the words. And also, taking off your ring doesn't make you any less married.
Married.
It
Good
makes
point.
you fraudulent because you're trying to run game. You're better off if you're wearing your wedding ring and you're trying to do you to behave as such, because now people know what they're getting into versus you trying to take it off. And then when you go back to try to explain you're married, then it comes off like you're a phony. All bad.
Also, Dominic, you can tell Dominic's been married for a while when he asked this question because people don't approach people anymore. They're all on dating apps, dog. It's 2018. Moving on. If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. Please do so. 985-80-JALEN, and we'll play it on the show just like this one.
Riding a bicycle with no shoes. Soft move or boss move? What up, though? Peace, love, and chicken grease.
Jalen, you know I ride a lot of bicycle, right? I'm riding my bike all over the city, all over the place. And when I first heard this question, I thought it was a boss move. You must be in a beach environment. You're riding a big beach bike with the long handlebars at Venice Beach or something. But then, as we discussed this amongst the production staff, we realized, what if you have to go to the bathroom? What if you have to go to a restaurant? What if you have to go get some gum? What if you have to do anything? Soft move. Keep some shoes on.
This is definitely a soft move. And this is another subject for another day, but I think this is cultural. People driving and somebody else sitting in the passenger side that has their feet out of the window. But back to this. This is definitely a soft move. Here's why. It hurts your feet.
Yeah.
The pedals hurt your feet.
Hurts your feet.
And what if you have to do an emergency stop and you don't have on shoes? You have to put your feet down on the concrete.
I also want to say
cement.
this.
Like, come on, man. Soft move.
Whenever I have seen bare feet out of the window of a vehicle, they've looked like mine and not yours. Moving on. This is from Nate. Soft move or boss move? Constantly using fouls as a method of defense to stop the other team from scoring. Now, this is interesting. This is something that Jeff Van Gundy has taken up as a little pet peeve of his that I completely agree with. This is making the game less fun to watch. I know we have a clear path foul, but they need to make adjustments to the clear path foul, where if you are intentionally fouling someone to stop a two-on-one break or a one-on-one break, that should be illegal. I don't have to write the rule right now. There's other people that do that. There's a whole competition committee. Don't you feel like this rule needs to be changed in the NBA and everywhere in basketball?
In pickup basketball, this is a soft move. Oh, my goodness. Like, I'm upset. Like,
I've done it before.
I'm really disappointed in this.
Oh, I've done it before in pickup.
Like a couple of types of people come to mind that should be arrested immediately.
I've done this before in pickup.
Those that get on an airplane and put their bags in first class and go to coach. Those same people who try to use the first class bathroom should be arrested immediately.
Jalen, just stop it. You're so tone deaf sometimes. You're complaining about people that fly coach. Do you realize that the plane is 95% people that fly coach?
Correct, and sometimes I'm in it as well. But when I'm back there, I don't put my bags in first class. Now,
yeah, right.
What
When
I'm
was the last time
saying,
you flew coach?
I fly coach a lot because I book last-minute travel. I fly coach a lot more than you think, actually. But with that being said, in pickup basketball, we all know that you're calling your own fouls, okay? So you have to get a level of who's playing weak out there and who's playing through contact. Sometimes people play and ones in pickup ball. I don't necessarily love and ones in pickup basketball. And so from this should be somebody that gets banned immediately from playing at that gym.
I've done it many times. It's a great play. I support winning. I wouldn't do it if we were losing or winning by a lot, but in a close game, I'll definitely do that. Moving on very quickly, we have one more tweet. This one is from Fahad. Eating pizza with a knife and fork, soft move or boss move? That's a soft move. I mean, we all know that's a soft move.
That's definitely a soft move. I think this is the first program where each of the items I consider a soft move. Shout to my brother Mike Greenberg, who does this. He actually does this.
Look,
he
he's very
eats
clean.
sandwiches like this. He
He's
eats
very clean.
pizza like this. Because